person-to-person, man-to-man fighting back to its most primeval part. This is real sort of First World War type stuff. Lots of people are asking why the counteroffensive is taking so long. That is your answer. My name's Colonel Hamish to Bretton-Gordon. I commanded the British 1st Royal Tank Regiment and have commanded tanks at platoon level, at squadron level and at regimental level, and have spent the last 33 years of my life on the battlefields of the globe. What we're about to see now is a very graphic representation of Ukrainian infantry on the ground attacking trench systems. This is all part of the Ukrainian counteroffensive to break through the very thick, solid Russian defensive lines. And this is how they're doing it. Hard, difficult fighting, but making progress. What we're seeing now is a section of infantry in an armoured fighting vehicle. Interesting enough, they all look very professional. They've got a lot of good weaponry here. Now, out in the open, I mean, huge amounts of damage, pot marks where mortars and artillery are fired. Now getting down, very important that they always keep what we call 1 foot on the ground. So somebody is covering this guy moving forward to keep, what they need to do is keep the heads of the enemy that they're attacking down. And as they crawl up close, chuck a grenade in, frag grenade. Again, that is into a trench. One guy will go forward now, being covered by somebody else on his flank, left and right, keeping heavy suppressive fire. And they're going through trenches one by one. I mean, this is real sort of First World War type stuff. But these guys look pretty well trained to me, seem to know what they're doing. I mean, the landscape is almost lunar. I mean, it's sort of, if it was black and white, it would be pictures from the sort of trenches of the First World War. And then you've got to methodically go through every single trench. It's very easy for a Russian to hide in a little bunker there. And then as they come around the corner, then attack them. So this is really slow, hard work. And you'll hear the guys, breathing heavily. You've got to be really fit to do this sort of stuff. And you've got to make sure that you cover, every bit of eventuality. I think what's really interesting about that clip, clearing trenches, this is, really hard, difficult work. This sort of warfare hasn't changed in the last 110 years since the First World War. And that's why it's so difficult and so slow that, as we've seen, they've got to methodically clear through every single trench and every supporting trench. And it takes time and, really, really hard work. And that is why the counteroffensive is taking so long. This is just a microcosm, but it's happening across a sort of 1,500-mile frontage of a depth of up to, 20 to 30 miles. So an awful lot of effort is required to be successful in this sort of warfare. This is a dawn attack, classic infantry way of doing business. Ideally attack at night or attack at dawn when the defenders will still be half asleep. They will still not have all their wits about them. These attackers will be preparing for a few hours before, and the light is difficult. They no doubt try and attack with the sun to their back. So again, to dazzle the defenders. First World War landscape, trees blown to pieces, and looks like some heavy artillery coming in as well. No doubt just in front of the attackers. That's what we call danger close. And we do a lot of training to make sure that the artillery guys can fire just in front of us, not on top of us, but, sometimes only 10 or 15 meters in front. That keeps the enemy's head down and allow these guys to come up through the mist, as it were, through the dawn, and attack through the trenches. But this looks like an awful lot of preparation. Artillery preparation has gone on, and the enemy have chucked up a drone there to get an eye on what's going on, and they've taken it out. Now, when I was with the Peshmerga in Iraq fighting ISIS, we had the same problem, but we weren't quite as successful as Hooch taking drones down. Again, they've got to methodically now get through the lines of trenches. There'll probably be several lines of trenches here. The enemy trying to use drones to keep an eye on them, and artillery fire coming in. You know, the noise is absolutely deafening. The command and control, in other words, how you get your soldiers to move to the right place, really difficult. Attacking like this on foot, there's nothing more difficult, physically demanding. And because you've got your helmet and body armor on, and they'll have some ear protection because the noise is just unbelievable, it's very difficult to get disorientated. And when you're also in a 3D space with drones above you, that makes life even more difficult. Of course, these guys will have their own drones looking forward for them onto the enemy. But yeah, winning the drone war in this thing is key. But it is very challenging. But it is really, you know, person to person, man to man fighting, you know, back to its most primeval part. These guys have got machine guns and have got artillery supporting them, but it is pretty much hand to hand and the most challenging sort of fighting that you can get involved in. Now, this is where life is different now on the Ukraine battlefield. Drones. You using your drones so that you can spot where the enemy is, and the enemy using their drones. So whoever wins the drone battle is going to have an advantage. But again, tacking into trenches here, absolutely devastated with artillery. But, you know, when you're only standing, you know, 5 foot, 6 feet high, you can't see it a lot forward. But if you've got a drone up there covering it, then they're your eyes and ears. You don't mind if you lose a few drones. If they get knocked out of the sky, these sort of 500-pound drones are easily replaceable. But a soldier is not. A highly trained soldier is very difficult to replace. But you're seeing a very good look at the battlefield here, where places are. And it gives an indication of where the mines might be, where the barbed wire. And also the trenches, to check that they've been covered, they've been cleared, and it's very important they go through methodically. Here's a heavy machine gun being set up, again, to suppress the enemy, keep the heads down. There's not a lot of cover here, a few sort of broken down and gnarly old trees, but yeah, and also a clear background, clear weather. So having that drone up there, directing where the enemy is key. And again, it's very methodical. Hand grenade forward, clear the trench. Somebody goes forward, suppressive fire to make sure that nobody can react and get their heads up. But again, hard yards. This has been heavily fought over. A lot of artillery damage here. Again, very reminiscent of some of those First World War pictures. And interesting, look at the weapons that these guys are carrying. All very clean, look well maintained. To me, a professional outfit. And look at what we call the webbing, the stuff they're wearing. It's smart, it's together. Again, this looks like a very professional set of infantry men who have no doubt experienced a lot of this before. The blue on there is so that you can identify who your friend or foe is. The Russians might have a similar marker, but again, in the confusion of battle, very easy to get disorientated, and you've got a split second to make a decision. So that bright blue is showing they're your mates. Lots of people are asking why the counteroffensive is taking so long. You know, in this clip we're showing here is, I mean, that is your answer. These are really hard yards. This is, you know, one trench system of part of, you know, a couple of 100 miles of trench systems that can be 10 or 15 miles deep. They all have to be taken, you know, piecemeal. It takes a long time. You can't afford to make any mistakes. If they leave somebody there and go through, that enemy will then turn around and shoot them in the back. This sort of fighting across pretty much open ground with no cover will be absolutely terrifying. We're hearing a lot of fire from the attacking Ukrainian soldiers, but no doubt there's a lot of fire coming back the other way. And, you know, it takes a lot of guts and courage to keep going, to get out of cover, go to the next trench, which is why you're so reliant on your mates who are putting down what we call covering fire. So they keep firing where you move. But it's really hard. It's people say running a marathon is difficult. Yeah, you want to attack like this for an hour or so, and it is the most exhausting, difficult, frightening thing you can do. So yeah, these people who no doubt have been fighting for a long time now, they are showing a heck of a lot of courage, and hats off to them. The culmination of all these various clips of infantry platoons attacking positions really illustrates what a challenge that the Ukrainian forces have in this counteroffensive. It's really hard yards. It's really difficult for the men on the ground, incredibly tiring, incredibly frightening. And each sort of square meter of ground is hard fought over. When we know how deep the Russian defensive system is and how long it is, it's no surprise that 3 months in, we're only now getting to a position where it looks like the Ukrainians might be breaking through. But I think the way that they're operating, the infantry are operating together, working together, gives me really confidence that these are highly professional, well-trained and motivated soldiers. So it's still a lot of hard yards to go. But if they're attacking like we've seen in these videos, then I'm confident that they will get through, hopefully a not too distant future.